I'll introduce myself. I'm Rob Wagas. I'm the Development Director in the Fox Cities, Appleton, Wisconsin. My co-presenter today will be Tom Tex, and he's a Service Extension Director. So when you fill out your evaluation, Tom is spelled T-O-M, so make sure that you spell his name right. So we got a lot of materials to go through here. And we're going to do it, and we're going to have time for questions and answers and things like that. There's some chairs over here, ma'am.
Yeah, two chairs.
Yeah, there's one here. You guys want to sit together? Are you guys a couple?
He's got a no.
You just
Did you just meet?
It's all right. Probably better to slip into It's all right. She sits on my lap.
Okay. Now, in your program it says how to fill kettles in the 21st century. We're not going to talk about that. Okay? We're going into the 25th century where Buck Rogers was. Because if you don't know how to fill kettles, you should be able to know how to do it in the 21st century because you're doing that now. So we're going to show you some things that you can do in the 25th century. And when you get to the 25th century, if this isn't true, look me up and ask me. Okay? So once you get done with this session, you're going to be able to go into the 21st century via your smartphone. Okay? And we're going to tell you how to do that. Again, I'm from Fox Cities in Appleton. In the Fox Cities, if you haven't been there, has anybody been there to the mall? Have you gone there shopping? Oh, so then you know where the Fox Cities are. So Appleton is the largest city. There's about 75,000 people. Overall, it's about 250,000. And then when you look at the statistical area down there, that's around 385,000 folks there. We're talking a little bit at start about a match day, the Thrivent match day in particular. And again, this is something that you can adapt and use at your core. This is something that you can make bigger, make smaller, or whatever. So there'll be different things that you can do from this. Thrivent Financial is a Fortune 500 company. They do insurance. They used to be known as Aid Association for Lutherans, and then they formed, merged up with Lutheran Brotherhood. So they're headquartered in Appleton, Wisconsin. To give you a little history of it, we started in 2004, and they offered our $25,000 match. This was a single day, dollar for dollar match. And on that particular day in 2004, the community put in $29,000 in the kettle. So you can see there's a little bit difference there in what they offered for the match, but being the good folks that they are, they decided to match that number, so we ended up with $54,000 in that day. That's a pretty good day. I thought, wow, that's great. Then in 2005, again, they offered us a $25,000 match. This time, the community really stepped up and put in $43,000. So you can see, here's Thrivent. They said, we're going to match $25,000. All of a sudden, the community said, okay, there's $43,000. So they kind of had a situation to deal with, and luckily for the people we help and serve, that they matched that entire amount. By the way, I'm not good at math. My undergrad is in communication arts, so this is kind of like big stuff for me to go through. So if I make a mistake, let me know. Then 2006, again, they did a $25,000 match. You can see what the community did, and then Thrivent said, okay, we're going to match that too. So you can kind of see this thing just keeps going up and up and up. And then comes 2007. Speaking of up, they said they're going to match up to $60,000. So I kind of got the message there, and the public responded with $97,000. So that was a great day. In 2007, we brought in $157,000 in one day. So at this point here, I'm thinking, let's have the kettle season start. We'll do a week of ringing, and then I'll have a lot of time for doing Christmas shopping and that. You know, we'll just do our goal right away. But that didn't happen. In the Fox Cities, we've got 50 kettle sites. Is Appleton, Needham, Menasha, Kimberly, Combined Locks, Little Chute, and that. So we got sites throughout the valley. We use the online data management system, Volunteer First, which is outstanding. We start our public registration in mid-September, and I know a lot of corps use this. I think, Chris, you use it, and they're out of Madison. You may have been the first corps to utilize it. And it's great. It does a lot of things for us, saves us a lot of time. Typically, we start bell ringing on the first Friday in November. It's kind of like a soft opening for us. We know we're not going to have a lot of ringers out there, but the stands get out there, mostly to the grocery stores. We'll get out there. And this gentleman here, does anybody recognize it, the fellow on the left? Yeah.
I recognize the bell.
The bell? Yeah, and a kettle. That's our volunteer coordinator, Ashley Tim.
Face rings the bell.
Well, we'll get back to the slide here. He looks familiar. I saw him around here. You might do this. We've got custom-made kettle toppers. We have our website, our phone number. So when people are walking around, they know, what's going on, how they can get signed up for bell ringing. Keys to our success for a match day, as with anything in life, you have to do very detailed planning. You have to have the community support. They got to be behind you. You have to have a full marketing plan, and by that it's vertically integrated, so you know exactly what it is you want to do, why you're doing it. Because as a development director, my most precious commodity is my time. So I have to have everything planned out. I'm also a solo practitioner, so I don't have 2 assistants or anything like that. So I know I've got to hit the ground running and just keep on running and don't turn around until it's Christmas morning. Okay, because then the bells go quiet and I can just sit and take it easy for a moment. The other that's key is the advisory board involvement. And by that, it doesn't necessarily mean that the board members have to be out there ringing the bell. They could be helping line up donors. They can help line up major gifts. They can help line up match days and that. So that's critical. The volunteers, we use all volunteer bell ringers. So we have no paid volunteer ringers at all. And then also the other thing is relationships. If you go back to like when you're in high school or something and you wanted to ask somebody to the prom or whatever, usually that was somebody that you knew, they knew you, and you're comfortable to go up and say, hey, would you like to go to prom? It's like that in the business world. You just can't go up to XYZ company and go, hey, can you give me $100,000? And they're going to be, after they get done laughing, they'll go, well, we really would like to do that. So that doesn't always happen. So you have to build those relationships. The other thing is continuous improvement. One of the things that I did in my life was I worked for the Saturn Corporation, and it was a different kind of car, different kind of company. They were very much attuned in the manufacturing environment to continuous improvement. They're always looking on how to improve their processes, or their processing. They wanted to improve stuff. So that, and they got that from the Japanese. But actually the Japanese got it from a guy called Dr. Deming, and the US manufacturers didn't want to listen to him, but that's another story. Tell your story though. Every year we do media placement, we do articles. This is a magazine called Fox Cities Magazine, I know, kind of original, but they'll do feature stories about what's going on, what our need is, where the money goes, that goes into the kettles, the type of activities we do not only at Christmas but throughout the year. Everybody's got a bell ringing brochure. You know, these are things that you can, don't wait till November to distribute them, be passing them out throughout the year. For Kettle Logistics, as I mentioned, we have all volunteers. In July, our volunteer office sends out letters to the Kiwanis, the Shriners, the Rotarians, and all the other civic groups, clubs, and churches that ring bells in the past, and they get first dibs on the site and the shift that they want. So if the Shriners always want to ring at a certain grocery store, that way you can get them lined up. And then when you toggle over your website in mid-September, generally then you're doing the public in that. Typically we'll get 2 out of 3 of our bell ringing positions filled. In 2008, that's when we were doing 2-hour shifts. I did some beta testing and then I expanded to 1-hour shifts at all the Walgreens. And it's really nice for people who just want an hour. We have 1-hour shifts out at the mall, so a mother can go out there with the family and she can ring the bell and then go shopping afterwards. And that. I don't think we've ever done 4-hour shifts at all. But with that said, if somebody wants to ring for 4 hours, they can sign up for 2-hour shifts or 4 1-hour shifts. So it's available. Most difficult slots to fill are just before Thanksgiving at the outdoor sites. For us, we go full noodles right after Thanksgiving. All the sites become active in that. So that's when we have all the sites going. For the match days, private match day, we always had 100% capacity. So we had a ringer at every kettle from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. So that's really important if you do a match day, is to get the ringers out there. How many people here use kettle huts?
What's that?
Kettle huts? Do you have a kettle hut?
I have a couple, I made up some lightweight ones,
Okay,
because of the fact that, was our fourth Christmas, and, they, started to get some people asking.
Okay.
So I put some lightweight ones
Okay.
together.
that's good to have, because there are some people, and we do it at all of Walmarts. We have electricity, we've got a stool heater, whatever. People like to be outdoors, but they don't want to be outdoors. And they're very distinctive, you know, they're like silent sentinels, you know, people see them. This photo here, of course are there any Badger fans here? We got Bucky here. Do you know who this person is here?
Marvin the Martian.
What's that?
Marvin the Martian.
Marvin the Martian. I think it was either Marvin the Martian or the Sparty. And do it. Also with this system, we can do broadcast emails. So if I've got 5,000 volunteers in our database, we can generate a broadcast email or go out to all the volunteers, and it'll tell them stuff. Hey, we need some bell ringers on the We Energies Day. We've got another match day coming up. So it's a way that we communicate with people. We don't overuse it, but it's a way to let people know in the community what's going on and helps us stay connected to them. The online registration system also lets people know, thank you for signing up, that you get a notice that you're going to be ringing out at Walmart on a certain day and things like that. So those are very important to use. The 5 keys to our success. Can anybody guess which the first one is? Luck. Luck and prayer play a large part in this. If you can imagine you're having a match day for 125,000, and next thing you know, you've got 18 inches of snow, it's a blizzard, the schools are closed, ringers can't get to the kettles, volunteers can't get to the kettles, donors can't get to the kettles, and you're sitting there going, oh, now what do I do? So luck, communications, you have to let everybody know what the plan is, you have to work the plan, you have to have cooperation. Everybody has to be on the same page and see that this is an important goal, and we're going to strive to get this goal done. It's going to get done, and you're going to move ahead on it. You have to do a lot of planning on it in time. It takes time to do this. Every time we get done with a match Christmas kettle season, we do continuous improvement meetings in January with our participants. So we'll meet with the donors. What did you like? What did you not like? What can we change? What worked? What did not work? So we're always asking those questions. How can we make it better for your match day? What can we do? So you have to be very responsive for that. Also, when you're working on a match day, you have to be aware of your news cycle. Everybody wants to be in the news the day of the event, but also remember, you want to be in the news the day before the event, and then after the event, you want to be in the news after that. So you can kind of see where that's going. Work with your local paper and radio stations. Right now, if you look at media, newspapers and things like that, they've all downsized. They don't really have a lot of people that write news anymore. When's the last time that somebody from the newspaper came out and talked to you? They'll call you up or something like that. And I've noticed that I'll send out a news release and they will print it just about word for word in the newspaper. Am I that good of a writer? I don't think so. But it helps them fill some space in that. So help them do their job. Help make it easy for them to do their job. Give them the story of who, what, when, and where. So work with them. And also know they've got deadlines. So if you get called by a news outlet and you get a voicemail message, you come back from work or whatever, call them back. They want to get that on the 5 o'clock news. It's competitive. They want to have that story. All the other stations are carrying the story. So help them do that. For the news of the Thrive It match, we'll talk a little bit about it was able to carry water. That's a tease. We got local coverage. I thought that was pretty good. We got state coverage throughout the state of Wisconsin for a match day. We got national news media coverage on it. And then we found out it went international. So we had news coverage on this in England. We had it in Australia, and I'll tell you how we did that. We always do a news conference typically for most of our match days. And we use the big kettle. This is one that, Tom, do you know where this came from?
This one was made by the DAOC County.
Okay, this is from Service Extension. So we always do the conference at the host location. This is out at corporate headquarters for Thrive. We do it in mid-November. It's important to have support of the news media. If you're doing a news conference, you want to share the news, tell your story, let the host, the Thriving people, or whoever it is, the match folks, tell their story. We even done it, did it, if you have a newspaper, they usually have the online edition. They also do live streaming. The newspaper come out and they'll do live streaming, which is a live video of the event while it's going on. We had metrics on that so we could see how many people were watching the news conference at their desk, whether they're eating lunch or doing something, I don't know, but they were watching it, so it was amazing.
Could you back over here? Could you back up just a second? When do you approach these businesses to match? Do you approach them with a letter first? Is it based on a relationship you already have with that particular organization?
It's part science, part art, but it's a process that you have to go into, and you have to know what you want to ask. And we're going to talk about that as when you go to talk to somebody, what it is that you're going to offer them. Everybody in the corporate world has someone calling them and say, can you give me $5,000? Can you give me $10,000? But you're going to be different when you do your asking. I'm going to show you how you do that.
Also, you're going to talk about that.
Yep. For branding, we always do a quarter for the Thriving Match, double the sharing, double the caring. This is called the $250,000 challenge. Thriving was offering $125,000. We're hoping the community would match that. And if I did my math right, that would be $250,000. So again, as a solo practitioner, this is kind of washed up because of lights, but the graphics department at Thrivent did all these graphics for me. So I would incorporate them into our website, into all our media handouts and things like that. So they would do some nice graphics for us. Everybody's favorite radio station. This should be everybody's favorite radio station. You know what station this is? WIFM? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? So when you go and talk to somebody, let's say you go to a corporation, you can say, hey, you know, this is what I'd like to do. They're in business, you want to give them a business offer. We're going to do news releases for you prior to the day of, a recap after your match day. We're going to do live mentions, public service announcements. You've got different promotional opportunities for the representatives to be on the radio, whatever. So sell them a value, build value in doing that match day. We're going to do a news article in our newsletter. You're going to be on our website. You're going to have an association with one of America's most favorite charities in that. So to get back to your question, it's a process, and what you have to do is, you know, make sure everything's in order. You know, if it's somebody that is a longtime donor, you can go talk to them. If it's somebody that's new in town, they might have discretionary marketing dollars. There's a gentleman in an earlier session, they had a new bank come into town. So this bank had money in their budget, so they were able to do a match day with this corps because they wanted to promote themselves. And that's an excellent way to stretch a marketing advertising dollars. You have to take a look at where you're getting your money from. Is it from the foundation, the corporation, how they're going to do it. Sometimes they may say no, but I'm going to put you in my budget for next year. So make sure you know what it is that you want to ask. In Appleton, every year we've got the largest nighttime Christmas parade in the Midwest. How about that for qualifications? And every year we've got a float in it, and every year we use that as an opportunity to let people know about our match day, let people know about Salvation Army. And Captain Don and Captain Vicky have been in that parade, and they can tell you there's 80,000 people lining College Avenue. It's live on television, and it's replayed 3 or 4 times afterwards. Even, does anybody know where Escanaba is? Any Upers here? Okay. I was born in the UP, so welcome. So we get a lot of traction out of that, and that's exposure that Thrivent was able to get. So, you know, they're getting some value for that $125,000. Not only that, they have volunteers in the parade. They're carrying the banner in front of our throat, or float. There's the Thrivent logo. We're telling people, okay, it's on December 5th, help raise $250,000, and we co-brand with Salvation Army. So it's all branded. Their employees are in the parade. It's a great opportunity for them because donor involvement generates a lot of enthusiasm. This gentleman on the right, Peter Giannopoulos, he's now on our board. He was part of this whole process for a couple years, And the more he got to know about Salvation Army, he was interested, and we were able to cultivate him and then invite him on board as an advisory board member. So it helps to have people on your board with these companies, or have you need some sort of connection. You just can't, it just doesn't fall out of the sky. Sometimes it falls out of the sky, but you can't always depend on that. The other thing that they do at Thrivent, and it's called the Red Kettle Idol Challenge, and they get different costumes together. And again, we have our Kettle site agreements, so we know which retail stores we can do this at. If you want to have a singing group, musical group, or whatever, so you just don't spring this on the local festival food store, and next thing you know, you're going to be out on your ear. Every time we have a match day now, typically we'll have 100% of the shifts filled because we have employee involvement. The groups that they have different groups every year. It's a huge competition. The media is all over this. They want to see the Thrivent Angels. There's a group, Grinch Who Stole Christmas. You got the Holiday Elves and that. This is also another thing that helps people donate to the Kettle. So one of your things that you want to do with your Kettle program is give people a gifting opportunity. Make it easy for people to make gifts. Make it fun for them to make a donation. Metrics are your friends, and by that I mean you're really, you're looking at the numbers. Keep track of numbers. There's all sorts of different numbers out there. One of the things we do, and I know you're not going to see this, as I mentioned, we track the Kettle sites. Getting back to this gentleman, how do you keep track of it? Every Kettle, when it gets picked up, we put a slip in it. We know what day it is and everything. So that ties it all together to the bank, from the bank back to us for spreadsheets and that. So then I can take a look. I can follow numbers, and I can see the day of a deposit, the day that the bell ringing was going on. If it was a Thrivent match day, I'll have notes. If there's a weather event up there, if it was rain, if it was snow, or whatever. This also helps you marshal your forces. So if you should know your top 10 Kettle sites. So also let your bell ringing office know this is a top 10 site. So if someone calls up and goes, I want to volunteer to ring. Okay, where would you like to ring? I don't care, whatever. So you're going to put them out at festival, you're going to put them at Fleet Farm or whatever. So you're going to send them to a site that people are going to be walking by. So there's foot traffic. Also, when you're at Walmart, talk to your Walmart store manager. Get to know these people throughout the year. Your Walmart store manager can tell you which store has the most foot traffic. Which store has the most foot traffic. If you know that, then you know where to put your Kettle, or put your Kettle on. So you got to pay attention to this. Media audit. Thrivent subscribes to a service that's very expensive, and they can do a media audit every time their name is mentioned or whatever. So they did a media audit for a match day and Salvation Army. So we could see every time it was mentioned what the audience was and things like that. So we know how many people were hearing this on the radio, reading it, or whatever. This media audit was over 260 pages long. And guess what I did with this? I could take this and I could go to a potential new match day donor and go, hey, look, this is what Thrivent got for it. Because they're going to be going, what do I get out of it? I go, well, here's some benefits that you can get, the exposure. They cannot buy this. Can you imagine if you wanted to do a media buy to get exposure like that? I mean, you'd have to be on, all the time. You'd be spending money like crazy. Public relations strategy. PSAs are free. In our market, we've got 3 radio groups. We've got the Post Crescent. We utilize the Christmas parade. Morning TV shows to promote it. We use the giant Kettle to promote it. PSAs, if you're going to do radio PSAs, write them, get them all prepared, so you don't go out to the station and you're writing it while some guy's trying to record you. Also, don't go out in November to record them. Get them done in September, October. So get things done ahead of time. Just don't show off, because everybody gets crazy at the end of the year, whether it's Christmas or if you're a corporation, you got year end or whatever. So you want to make sure you make their job easy, present it to them. We do segmented PSAs. We'll get it down to, we'll have a PSA for the Thrivent match day, for the We Energies match day, Viva's Corporation, and then it'll rotate. We'll have like a general PSA saying, give 2 hours of your time, help a young child in need, ring bells for the Salvation Army, call 955-1225, or sign up online 24/7 at safoxcities.org. Help put a smile on a young child's face this Christmas. And that runs on the station. Whenever they can put it in, they'll put it in, and that gets the message out. We also do an insert. We have the Post Crescent is a Gannett paper. We do a two-sided insert. It'll be a letter from the Corps officer. We brand with the match day people. On the other side, there'll be a remit. People can send in a donation. There'll be numbers about Christmas, what we do at Christmas, what the need is. There'll be information about how to ring bells or something on here. This will go in the Sunday newspaper, and it's very popular. Again, as we mentioned, we branded. We've got the giant quarters. People are used to seeing those as kettle toppers for the Thriving Match. And the employees, they come out and they support it. So it's a big involvement with them. So we want not only their gift, their charitable dollar, but we also want their time to help us because we need the bell ringer. We had a wonderful bell ringer story. This was a story that had state and national coverage. And it was a letter that was shared by a bell ringer, went to the newspaper, was in the annual report for Thrivent. So it was about a lady who was waiting for the Thrivent Match Day. And she saved up her money all year, $411.18. And she knew that it would do the most good, and she liked the idea it was going to double her money. So make it easy for people to give a gift. People want reasons, they need reasons to go do a donation. So give them a couple reasons. It's a match day. I'll be out there. After our match day is over and we've got everything counted up, which is an art in itself, and I know Captain Carl's done a couple match days. He knows what that's like to get all the numbers ready, because the next thing you know, your phone's ringing and people want to know how you do at your match day. So you got to turn that around pretty quickly. You want to generate some excitement, and you want to get the news media to come out. So they have to have a reason why to attend. Okay, so you've done your job, or someone sent out a news release saying we're going to have a news conference at this date, this time and place and that, and you send it out. We're going to announce the total of how the match day went, and you know what's going to happen after that. People are going to be calling you up and going, hey, I can't make it, we're kind of busy, so can you just give me the number now? I go, oh, sorry that you can't make it, but I'll tell you what, if you can make it, you'll get the number, but as soon as the news conference is over, I'm going to send out an email that's going to have all that information there. Okay, so everybody's on the same playing field. So if they want the story, they have to come out, but don't give them the story unless they come out. And then everybody will get it. If the news conference is at 11, at 11:10, that number is going to go out to them. And it's worked. Show me the money. Okay, here's December 2008 was our match day. We looked at the numbers for cash. This is the dead presidents and the change and things like that. It was close to $70,000. And along with that, we had over $300,000 in checks in the Kettle on that day. So right now we're at $372. Thrivent said, well, we're going to put in $125,000. So as you start doing the math, we came in for that day close to $500,000. In one day. In one day.
Hey Rob, how much of that money actually was in kettles? I mean, did you have some that people dropped off, they knew it was kettle match day, they dropped off a check at your office, or?
100% of it was in the kettles, because you know what? If they come into our office and they want to drop it off, there's a kettle right up front there for them to put it in. That way I know what my foot traffic is coming in the door for people dropping things off. So we know what's going on. So we do a big check presentation. Many of you probably saw our Corps officer, Major Tamayo, he was doing a tabletop presentation. So on match days. So this is one of the big checks that we get. This graph here shows the 2008 season. We went up, and then it went out the door. Somebody asked me once before if this was the national debt. But no, it's not. It's a little washed up because we get the lights on for the TV folks, but it's not the national debt. It's actually money coming in. So at this point, after 5 years, we did close to $1 million. We set a national record. A gentleman named Major George Hood sent us a nice note congratulating us for the nation's highest one-day Christmas total for a continuous community match. So that was something that was very nice to have happen. And then since 2010, this is how we've done. So we hit a record there, but the next year, still pretty good year, almost 400,000, a little over 300,000 there. So right now we've been doing it for 8 years. We're at $1.8 million on this match day. And then again, if we look at the numbers, again for the Fox cities, we're not that big of a core. Our Christmas goal in 2008 was 690,000. Last year was 1.2 million. This is a combination of red kettles, direct mail, and corporate year-end contributions in that. So it's month, November, December. So right now, with this economy, they say flat is the new up. So if you can maintain what you did the year before, you're doing pretty good. But with this in mind, we were able to achieve and exceed our goal every year, okay? So that, and we're very blessed to have that in our community. So in addition to that, then in our spare time, we did a capital campaign, and we raised $2.5 million. And I thought, well, there might be a little drop off in those years or so, but again, the public came through. If you ask people for help, typically they're going to give it to you. You just have to remember to ask and know how to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. The original recipe. Try not to mess with success. So if something's working, don't mess around with it. You know, the Colonel knew that. You know, he didn't want to mess around with the secret recipe, so he kept things going. So you might do some continuous improvement and things like that, but you know, there might be people that come in and say, well, let's change this or change that. If you got something that's working, make sure that whatever the change is going to be, that you know that there's going to be some positive results from that. You can always do something that's called beta testing and just try it out. We did that with the 1-hour shifts at Walgreens. We tried out a couple to see what the response would be. Model on success. Last year, we had the earliest match day ever. It was November 19th. It was a community match day for families. The purpose of it was to get families out ringing at the kettles and also get family groups to donate to their own match day. This family here, the Jeff and Diane Walters family of Appleton, they contributed some seed money, and then we let the public know that we were doing this. And pretty soon, I had $8,500 on hand to offer as a match to the community on November 19th. And then I branded it with a local construction company. So then there was a benefit for them to be involved. And what they did later on, after the match was done, they matched the money that the public did, but they did it anonymously. You always have to honor the donor's request. Modeling on success, last year we did a first match day with folks at Bassett Mechanical. They do HABC. It was their 75th anniversary. They did a match for $7,500. They're going to be doing it. They're already signed up for this year, so they're going to be doing that match. Capital Credit Union. We've been doing this with Capital Credit Union for 2 or 3 years. We've also taken and expanded this. They have a physical presence in the Fox cities and also down in Oshkosh. So last year and the year before, the Corps officers in Oshkosh were able to have some match activities going on at their kettles. So Captain Don and Captain Vicky got to be part of that. Bemis, same thing down in Oshkosh. Bemis has a presence in there, so we shared the wealth, shared the joy down there with them, so they got to experience their match day. We've been doing match days with the Bemis company for quite a while. We have a relationship with them, and that's something that we cultivate and build with year-round. So you just don't show up in November and ask for somebody for some money. We Energies, we've been doing that for, I think, about 10 years now. They always have their match day. That, again, all their employees come out. Capital Credit Union employees come out. The Bemis people come out. The Bemis corporate executives come out. The media will go to the kettles, talk to the Bemis people, talk to the Capital Credit Union people. We do a news conference to announce this. So we follow that recipe. We use that same recipe that we did with Thriving. It's on a different scale, but it works. Then we have the J.J. Keller Foundation. They've been huge supporters of the Army. They did one in the memory of the late Jack and Ethel Keller, who were the founders of the company. So it's a nice way for the family's legacy to be honored. They were very generous in the community, and their name remains in front of the community. These are all actual kettle topper signs that go onto the kettles. We have a system where they'll go out before a match day, and then when the day is over, the drivers, as they go pick up the kettles, they'll take the signs down. If there's another match day coming up, they'll put up the new signs and that. So we've got a system where we do that. Kimberly Clark, I use a product every day. every day. And we have on our board, we've got a board member who works for Kimberly Clark. They've started doing match days. I think they're in their second or third year. It's $15,000. They have a corporate headquarters presence in the valley, a couple thousand employees there. They come out and they ring at the Kettle site. So we've got KC employees coming out. It also creates gifting opportunities. The Bemis Foundation, up to a couple years ago, did not do a match day. They showed up one day with a check for $50,000 and put it in the Kettle. They called me and said they wanted to do that. I said, just give me a minute. And I started calling the television stations. And I said, can you be here at this location, this location? So what we found out is that there's other people showing up with checks. So those are gifting opportunities. And a lot of those checks, you know, because we make copies of those checks, I go through it and I see that these are people that have the capacity to maybe do their own match day. So it's like prospecting. So it's a gifting opportunity. Also, be able to celebrate your success. And I'm not talking about spiking the football in the end zone, you know what I'm talking about? But this is something here, every year our community foundation does an annual awards banquet. We were nominated as a business partnership of the year with Thrivent. Someone filled out all the paperwork and that, and we were selected as the partnership of the year. I know the Army doesn't do a huge job of tooting its own horn, but if somebody wants to play a couple notes for us, that's great. You know, that goes even further. So we were very fortunate to have that happen. 2010, we had 6 match days. These were what was offered, and this is how we did for totals and that, and then these are what we ended up with. So this dispelled, some people said, well, if you have too many match days, someone will come out and they'll donate on one day and then they're not going to do the next day at all. So, I mean, we have match days every Friday in the month of December. I think we have match days on about every Monday and Wednesday in December, and then we're back into November with match days. There's never a fall off fore and aft, so people will donate. Again, people are looking for reasons to give, and if you have a match day, they're going to come out. They're going to come out for the Thrivent Day, they're going to come out for the Bemis Day, the Capital Credit Union Day. They're going to give because that's an opportunity for their gift to double. Last year, we had 8 match days. Some of them were some new ones. The ASCO match day, Family Day, Bassett Mechanical was a match day. Thrivent was their 8th year. They offered $100,000, and what they did is they split off another $25,000. It was called the Community Business Challenge. So we changed things up a little bit, stirred it up a little bit. And the Community Business Challenge, the way that worked was if we got some new match day participants or had people recommit from the previous year to the tune of $100,000 or more, Thrivent then was going to give us another $25,000. So there's a story right there. It's a story for Thrivent. It's also something there for other companies to be part of, to help us earn that money. So again, not only is the community being challenged, now we're challenging the business community. Continuous improvement. Always look at new technology. This number is no longer valid, but you know, we do texting. And some of you may do these POS machines, point of sale machines, where you can do a donation. We have it on a Kettle stand. We do UPC things, unit product code slips, and we'll talk about that a little bit. These machines here, they're great. I love them. They're great, but you know what? You're not going to get a lot of money from them at all. But I tell you, if you call up a television station or the newspaper and you tell them that you've got one of these things, they love the technology thing. They're looking for different stories and things like that. They will help you get your story out. So here's another way of giving, so then when you got it, you can say, hey, also people can text, do this or do that. So it's kind of like a little hook, you know. So if you think of it, you're like fishing. You want to have different baits out there, see what you're going to catch in that. You never know. This thing here, this is a winner. This is a winner. What it is we're now in just about every grocery store in town. So we started with Festival. I know other cores have done this. We make up a little 8x10 card. These are little slips that are padded, and people can go through a checkout stand, tear it off, give it to the cashier, she'll scan it, and it'll automatically add $5 to the grocery bill, okay? The store will keep track of all these monies, and then every 2 weeks we get a check from them. We also get an accounting from which store it is. They did a competition within the store as to which checkout person would do the most of these. We also found out that people will take them after it's scanned. When they walk by the kettle at festival or Piggly Wiggly, they'll put it in the kettle. Because you know their neighbors are ringing the bell, and they don't want their neighbors to think, well, they're going to stiff the Salvation Army when they walk by. So there's their $5 green slip, so they know that they've donated. These you can use for a lot of different things. You can make it up if you want to do a food drive. In the summer, you can have them there, and people can make donations.
So Rob, if those slips, pieces of paper are in the kettle, they don't have to be returned?
No.
Because I know we had a few of them last year.
Yeah.
So what do we do with these? You don't know.
It's good to see. It's like, okay, they're being used, you know. So, and we know from Festival and the other stores that they can account exactly for what day, how much money it was, so we can take a look at our traffic and that. And that's in addition to what the Kettle is getting at the store. A lot of people, you got iPhones, there's an app for this and that. There's an app where, you know, you can load this in your iPhone and ring it, and it'll ring the bell, you know, so you can stand at a kettle and ring the bell. I don't know if you'd want to do that, but there have been people to do that. But basically you want people to drop some change into the kettle, you know, so whatever will motivate them. This is a kettle top sign that we have, and you notice there's a little thing right there. We put those on the kettles. And then we're hoping people would drop change in, or they would scan. They would scan this thing. And I remember the first time I saw one of these, I took a pencil and I started working on it. I thought it was amazing. Seriously, I'm not making this up. And I was a middle child. So, and then I found out it's something else. And they're called QR codes, quick response codes. The military calls these Quebec Romeos. And they're attached to every piece of military equipment. So they can scan industry scans, so they know if there's an artillery piece, where it's at, where it's going, where it's been, whatever. Oshkosh Truck uses this on all their stuff. So it's all over the place now. And once you start looking for them, some of them look like mazes, some of them are like little colored pyramids and that. There's a thing called a QR code generator, and you can take your website, put it in there, and it'll make up a little maze that will correspond to that. Or if you want, you can do a phone number. Put a phone number in here, then when people scan it, it could be a phone number for your Bell office, or you can have it so it is going to your Donate Now button. You could have it so it goes to ringbells.org. So there's a lot of different things you can do with it. It's free. You can get the interface. There's an app for scanning on your phone. So what you can do, if you got a smartphone, you got a camera, you can take a picture with it. And next thing you know, if you got internet connectivity, in theory, you're going to go onto the web. So a lot of people have done this. You see realtors doing it. You see it in advertising. You see it in stores all over the place. But make sure you use the correct QR code. There are QR codes that you can make up. You can have them printed in that. You've got to be careful that don't get them too small. They have to be a certain size for the phone to work in terms of the resolution of that. But be careful so someone doesn't come up to you and go, hey, can you put these on your kettles for us? And you go, well, what's it for? Well, it's for our company. Don't worry about it and whatever. You got to be careful because across the street in the mall, there's Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret, like everybody else, they use QR codes. So you never know. Once you get on the internet, where the heck you're going to go. So you got to be careful with that. Text a gift or give some money that way. There's a system now you might use or have used, or you promote and let people. You can donate via your smartphone. You can text the words "give" to this number. During disaster, it might be fire, it might be tornado, whatever, and it'll be segmented. We use this as another way of letting the media know. If there's a big snowstorm, I'll send out a news release talking about text messaging and that. So they're out covering the storm, but I can say due to the severe effects of the weather, you know, people can't get out to the kettles, ringers can't get out to the kettles, but you still can do a donation from home. So it's just another hook. There's a lot of fine print with this. It's all tied into the FCC. You have to have the disclaimers there and ways for people to opt out of it, or if they need help or whatever. You have to let them know that message and data rates may apply, and who's doing it for you and things like that. So it's another tool that you can have in your toolbox for the 21st century. Carry water. This is a story about a gentleman in Appleton, Wisconsin. his water pipes froze and his basement filled up with water. It was, 4,400 cubic feet of water. And next thing we know, this was on the Associated Press wire. Because the city of Appleton, in their infinite wisdom, decided that they're going to charge this gentleman for the water, even though it wasn't really his fault that it broke at the meter and that. So the community came together and collected over $4,000 for him. And the money kept coming in. Norman Beckman was interviewed, and he said these words here. I did not write these words. I could not write these words. But he said these words, and I had read these, and I go, thank you, Lord. And the next thing we know, he's announcing to the media, he's going to make a donation on the Thrivent Match Day, because he wants to be part of this excitement. This story was in Australia, it was in England, it was all over the world. Do you think the people at Thrivent were happy about this? They love that. They love that.
Excuse me, can I ask a question, please? When you text for that $10 donation, is 100% of that donation going to you? People ask me that all the time.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways, and Tom, if you want to chime in, but the way it will work is it will go towards the core where your billing address is. So if somebody is a 920 area code and they're in the 54911 zip code, those funds will go to you. So the $10 will go in its entirety?
Yeah, what we have to do is we actually have to wait for the phone company, because this now shows up on your bill, and once you finally pay the bill, then they will mail a check to the Salvation Army for the dollars collected.
But they do that
So-
without taking any fees out of that $10.
Right,
That's what people
Yes,
ask.
Yeah.
$10, we receive a full $10, I believe it is, for
Okay.
that $10 donation.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Less whatever goes to DHQ. You guys are going to edit that, right?
This is Salvation Army, that's okay.
Again, it's important to keep in mind what the Christmas assistance, so always tell your story to people that money in the kettles help not only at Christmas but throughout the year. So, for our core, we do coats for kids, toys for tots and things like that. We're not that big of a core, but we do provide a new feeding program. We have a food pantry, a transitional housing, so we have a lot of the core programs that most Salvation Armies have. We also have a child care facility. Keep in mind what you want to catch, okay? And know exactly what it is you want to catch. Now you look at this photo, and that's actually me there, with that fish. You think, wow, that's a great fish, isn't it? I threw that back, you know why? I didn't want to catch that. I wanted to catch a walleye. So when you're fishing or when you're trying to do a match or something like that, keep in mind that, hey, this is what I want to catch, and don't stop until you catch that.
You look pretty happy there.
Well, yeah, because I'm out fishing. I'm out fishing. I don't hear any bells ringing at all. The genesis of this whole match thing really goes back to my dad. This is my mom and my dad. My dad was a World War II veteran, veteran of combat in South Pacific with the Red Arrow Division. My mom was a World War II veteran. She was in the Marine Corps. It gives you an idea. I had an easy childhood. And one day my dad said to me, he goes, Robert, why don't you go and go to that place where your sister works at? I go, which one, Dad? Because I got a couple sisters. You go, talk to your sister, the one that works at AAL. I go, well, Dad, it's thriving now. You know what I mean. Just go out there, see if they'll do a match for you. And I go, Of course, you always do everything your dad would tell you, right? So I'm sitting there going, So I did, and bam, there it was. So it happened. So that's the genesis. Both my mom and dad, huge supporters of Salvation Army. Mom came from a family of 13. Her family was helped out during the Depression when my mom was in the Marine Corps. The Salvation Army was there for the Lady Marines. My dad, when he was in New Guinea, the Salvation Army officers were there giving him hot coffee and sandwiches. And then when my dad was back out of combat in Australia, my dad helped collect funds for the Salvation Army on payday outside the base camp, outside the gates, because Salvation Army was not allowed to do that inside the camp because Brand X did that.
Yeah.
You know Brand X is?
I do.
Okay. All right, so I want to thank you very, very much. Also keep that in mind, in honor of my dad. Dad passed away in December in '06. But when you're working with people, working with donors, thank them again. Call them up and thank them. It doesn't cost anything to thank them, so make sure you tell them thanks and that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom, and thank you very much for your attention.
We ask you questions first, or both?
Well, we'll wait till the end.
All right.
That's okay. Mine's not,
Sorry.
we're at least halfway through.
We're in the home stretch here.
Just kidding. Well, my name is Tom Tex. I'm from the Service Extension area, the Director of Service Extension. That's the rural areas of Wisconsin. So, we don't have the big cores and the huge corporations. However, we do have several little ones in the area that we're going to be contacting and getting out and working with. But we've got some different ideas that have worked for us, and we wanted to share those with you. Obviously, your bell ringing is all about the volunteers that you can get. I know in some areas we pay bell ringers, but if you don't have those sites filled, you aren't going to have any money coming into the Kettle. These are some of the ideas, different school groups, civic organizations, incarcerated individuals. That's a very interesting one. Dewana right over there is the one that probably started that whole thing. Talk to your local law enforcement. Find out who's doing time in their county jails for 10, 30 days, whatever it is. These guys are just anxious to get out. They'd love to get out of there. We actually have it now that the Sheriff's Department delivers the men on a daily basis, picks them up and brings them back. They're volunteers for us. Now, obviously, you aren't going to get the guy that's been in jail for shoplifting. But, the Sheriff Department knows who is a good fit and who's not. Maybe a judge might know somebody that can help out, something like that. Kettle buttons, if you saw the little display we had down in the end of the hallway down there, the little 2.5-inch buttons. We started this in Antigo. One of our volunteers said, they sell the poppies at Memorial Day. What if we did a Kettle button? And that way, you always feel that when you walk by a Kettle, you feel obligated to put some more money in. And if you have the button, you won't feel as obligated. We sell them for $25 a pop. We sell them at the civic organizations, at the Lions, Kiwanis, or wherever it is. $25, we got that money, and we were concerned the first year thinking, well, okay, because we did very well with them, but how's it going to affect the Kettles? I think they went from $40,000 Kettle campaign in Antigo, Langley County, to $60,000, all because of that the buttons. Now we have a new design every year. We put the year on them. People are asking, what's the new design going to look like this year? Because they're collecting them. They're a collector's item for them. So it's just another great idea. Challenges. Rob shared, school challenges there. Packers and Vikings. When the western part of the state, we do border against those Vikings. We've got a lot of people that are Viking fans or Packer fans. We do something with that to tie into that. This is our best bell ringer we've got in Service Extension. It's a miniature horse. A volunteer in West Bend, Wisconsin, she came up to us, had been a volunteer for us for many, many years, and said, I have miniature horses. And I'm training this one. You look right here. He's got the bell in his mouth, and the horse will sit there and ring the bell. And it's just such an attraction. It draws everybody. And as soon as they put money in the Kettle, the horse puts the bell down and picks up a little banner that says thank you. And then lays it back down, and it goes back to ringing. Tinker's a hot commodity in the Washington and Milwaukee counties. Every weekend Tinker is booked. The media is all over it. Where's Tinker at this weekend? Where's Tinker going to be? It's like the old Where's Waldo almost. There's people following. People call our office. They want their children. Mom, we got to go see Tinker. We got to go see, where's Tinker? So it's a great, great thing for us. And now I understand that there might be a Tinker and a Tinker 2. So this is not the way you typically would think of bell ringers. If you saw your bell ringers like that, you'd go, gosh, what are these guys doing? This is our 30-hour bell ringing. Several years ago, we had a lady in Hudson, Wisconsin. She wanted to ring bells for 24 hours straight. And she did it for several years. It actually expanded out into other divisions 2 years ago. This last season, these two gentlemen said they wanted to be part of it also. and they rang for 30 hours in front of one store. But they were pretty sharp. They contacted some furniture stores. They got the 2 recliners donated. Is that a fireplace, I think? And they actually had a flat screen TV. They made their own man cave out at the Kettle site, so that it would be a little more comfortable for them while they're out doing their 30 hours of bell ringing. Well, at the same time, all of these items were donated, the chair, the 2 chairs and that. So we did a silent auction on those items so that people could put a bid in, and now, guess what?
More money.
More money in the kettles. So those are some other ideas that work with that. And that's basically some of the things that we've done. As Rob talked about the QR codes, we're finding it's important to put on there, when you print those out, print out what the website is, or if it's a donate button, it's taking you to a donate page, or the volunteer page, so that because what we're actually doing is we're using the Volunteer First or the ringbells.org also. We have a QR code, so that as people walk by right on our kettle stands, they can scan it if they want to learn or sign up to volunteer. They can scan it and then take it to that landing page of the website immediately. Or if they want to donate, it's just like the Donate Now button on any of the websites. We do that also. The other thing that's important is Rob shared earlier the statistics that, how many people do we help? What all goes on with that money? Put that on those kettle top stands. We've done that in several counties. We'll put in Calumet County. We did 548 bed nights, 6,000 meals, help with rent, utilities, whatever. Put those stats out there so the people know what their dollar is going for. It's so important because, to be honest with you, before I started attending the Salvation Army, I knew what the Salvation Army was. I knew they rang bells. I knew they collect money. What did they do with the money? I wasn't sure. So inform your donors so that they know what's going on out there. So I think at this time what we'd like to do is open it up to questions for either Rob, and probably Rob's got more questions, or me, or share some ideas that something that you guys are doing that works for you, that's worked for you, that maybe we can glean some information or ideas. Yes?
I have a question, like if we did, there's a huge Packer lion population up there. Do you put 2 kettles at that site?
Exactly.
Right, because otherwise they would walk by, every lion fan would walk by.
Right. We put 2 kettles
Those
out.
3 that we get that go in.
We put 2 kettles out, one for the Packers, one for the Vikings, and we actually have a brat fry going on. And which do you want, a Packer brat or a Viking brat? And you keep track of the money that way, and that all is part of the campaign. So, other questions? Yes?
No, go ahead.
You said that you did the match days on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Is that the best days, or how did you?
Well, it first started out, again, my dad would stand outside the base camp on a payday when all the soldiers got paid and would collect funds for Salvation Army. So we set up the first Thriving Match Day on a payday for them on a Friday. And then we found out what other cycles are and things like that, so we just filled up just about every Friday. And then after that, we ran on a Friday, so we started doing Wednesdays and Mondays and things like that. So if you're going to start out with your first one, it depends on your community. It might be a Friday's a good day. A lot of people are out shopping on Fridays.
You ever do a Saturday?
Yes, November 19th, 2011 was a Saturday. That was the ASCO match day, and that worked out.
Our match days are on Saturday.
All your match days are on Saturday?
And you're at
Madison?
Madison?
Yes. Now, the other one that I wanted to add is just a caveat to the Volunteer First web donation, ringbells.org registration for volunteers. Rob, you mentioned the email blast that you do through that database, and we found that when we did our email through that a lot of times it would get caught in spam, so people wouldn't be seeing the messages as often. So what I decided to do to try to alleviate that problem is I also took the information from the database, all the people's basically names and email addresses, and put them into constant contact, and then send them an e-newsletter type of thing, so that that constant contact is very good about getting through, because people can opt in or opt out. It has an opt out type of thing. And it gets through a lot more easily to their email inbox. And then you can put, you know, you can put photos in there easily. We could put an announcement about, you know, match day.
Yep,
We can send them an email blast on that.
excellent.
So keeping in touch with the volunteers.
It is a marvelous tool, and I know Service Extension, we just started to use it last year for our first year, and just piloted it out, because again, we got 67 counties. It's huge, you know. We didn't utilize it to its full capacity, you know, as far as, but we were able to track how many hours of volunteers in the past. Now imagine this, Salvation Army is a little bit crazy, because, really? Yeah. They want to know statistics. How many volunteers, how many volunteer hours?
Right.
Well, Service Extension, I've got 67 counties. How many kettle sites do you think I have? I don't know. I don't have a clue. So how many volunteers do I have? Yep, that's the number I'm going to use. That's all I would do. Well, this last year I was able to dial that in a little bit because I knew now I had 10 counties that were participating with the red kettles. I could get my hours, I could get my volunteers. What we didn't use it for was tracking the dollars. You know, as Rob showed that the chart up there, the Excel spreadsheet, that's a wonderful tool to have and to use because he's exactly right. If you only have half of the volunteers for your kettle sites, you better be loading them in where your most foot traffic is or your best success is at, so that you keep those sites manned 100% of the time. So we're going to try utilizing that more this year. But wonderful, wonderful tool. Yes.
I just want to say
See, I knew this was coming.
that Volunteer Impact, the database that is mandated by territory headquarters and divisional headquarters, does do the same thing and works and costs very little comparatively. So
That was some questions we had brought to us because
and I would be
THQ
willing to help anybody setting up for using the volunteer impact system.
So our recommendation was yesterday, if you're using the volunteer impact and it's working for you, continue to use it. And you know, it's a great, and if you want to find out more about that, yeah, Joy would be the contact for that to get you involved with that. If you're using that for other pieces at your course, for your volunteer tracking and database, well, it makes sense.
Whatever works. You know, if you want to use a pony to ring a bell,
Who would have thought that, eh?
and that pony works for oats.
Takes a little training.
Yeah,
but where do the oats go?
Works for oats.
The caretaker for that horse is very good. She moves that thing around in the back of her minivan. She's got a little ramp he walks up into, and away they go down the road.
To answer your question, to an organic gardener
Yeah.
with rose bushes. Any other questions, suggestions?
Who cleans up the poop?
That's the caretaker for the horse.
They have a pooper squad.
And again, as Rob said earlier, make sure you know those are things that you want to line up with your location site, your store managers and stuff. Not that, you know, all of a sudden they got a horse making deposits on their front. Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I know we talked a lot about these kettles on the street and so forth. What about counter kettles? You know, I mean, they're important too.
We in Service Extension, we probably have as many counter kettles out there as we have the full-size kettles. Because again, you know, you go to some of these rural communities, they got a quick trip, a bar, 2 bars, and you know, a little, that's about it. So we use counter kettles a lot. The key to those are making sure that you keep current with them and empty them. Because otherwise you're going to get, the store manager is going to get very frustrated because this thing's full again. Now, the other side of it is they're not as secure as your large kettle sites and a little more trusting going on there. But yes, they work wonderful for us, you know, but they're an important piece of it.
I've been doing Fond Line for the last 3 years, and in 3 years, we only lost 2 kettles.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sure, but I need to have some place that, well, I don't want to be responsible.
Right.
You're not.
Right.
Counter kettles are important. And this is not all encompassing, and we could have talked about counter kettles, and there's a lot of other stuff, but yeah, we do that. And if you've got, I can answer more questions on counter kettles after this session here, and that's a subject.
I even had a few locations that do a match for the kettle.
Yeah,
So that's something you can work on.
yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. So hopefully that you've come away from this session with one idea, or maybe two ideas, or a couple ideas. You can go back, and it doesn't have to be on a scale of whatever. You don't need a horse, you don't need a pony, but there's gonna be something in your community that's going to work, you know? So there's gonna be some way, some shape, some whatever, that you can put this into play, and to help raise more money during the Christmas season and that, so.
My fear is he's going to buy me a horse costume.
Well,
And that
Is that
eliminates the
Like
pool.
a costume?
no, they're actually, I got an email one day from one of my other, I can't remember who it was, because everyone in Service Extension saw Tinker already, and this was great. All of a sudden, I got this, Tinker has competition. And I'm like, oh no, so a photo, two guys inside of a horse costume showing up at the Kettle site, so that's not too far of a stretch. Before you leave, please make sure you fill out the surveys for us. You can leave them right on your table. That would be very helpful for us. Hopefully you found the value in not only today's sessions, but all the sessions.
Thank you
Lunch
for your
will be
time.
served at noon, and that would be pretty much it, unless someone else got some other questions or comments.
Gentlemen back there?
We'll be around and feel free.
Yeah.